The hidden history of Cambodia's false autonomy. Number 5. The phantom borders. Okay, imagine this. You wake up one day in Cambodia in the 1940 seconds and realize your country's borders have been redrawn again. You didn't move, but suddenly you're living in what's being called an autonomous region. Sounds cool, right? Like a bonus level of independence. Except, no one can actually agree on what that means. The so-called autonomous regions were a geopolitical fever dream born out of French colonial confusion. During the tail end of French Indochina, the colonial powers wanted to make Cambodia self-governing, but only in the same way a parent gives a toddler a steering wheel-shaped toy and says, "Look, you're driving." The French promised autonomy, but kept control over the army, trade, and foreign policy, basically, everything that mattered. Cambodian leaders were like, "Cool, we're free now, right?" And France was like, "Yeah, totally. Now sign here so we can approve your freedom." Here's where it gets weird. The borders of the so-called autonomous Cambodia weren't even clearly defined. Maps disagreed. Villages didn't know which authority they reported to. Some locals joked they'd been freed 3 times in 1 year by France, then by Thailand, then by Vietnam. It was like a colonial version of a group project where nobody knows who's in charge, but everyone's grading each other. Psychologically, this chaos bred what historians call national confusion identity. Imagine being told your home is yours, but someone else holds the deed, the keys, and the right to kick you out. That kind of collective uncertainty shapes how a nation sees itself for generations. So yeah, Cambodia's first taste of autonomy was basically a paperwork illusion, like getting your own apartment, only to find out your landlord still has the only key to the bathroom. Number 4. The king who couldn't rule. Picture being crowned King Golden Robes, crowds cheering, incense burning, and then being told, "By the way, you don't actually get to rule." That was King Sihanouk in the early 1940 seconds. A monarch in name, a puppet in practice. See, the French didn't pick him for his political skills. They picked him because he was young, polite, and unlikely to ask too many annoying questions about sovereignty. Basically, the colonial version of hiring an intern to manage your empire's public relations. But Sihanouk wasn't as naive as they hoped. When the Japanese marched into Cambodia during World War II and declared independence under Tokyo's watch, Sihanouk played along, publicly supporting Japan, while privately calculating how to make Cambodia actually independent once the dust settled. It was a wild psychological game of survival. One day he's dining with French generals, the next he's bowing to Japanese officials, all while pretending to believe both sides cared about Cambodian freedom. It's like trying to negotiate peace between 2 toddlers fighting over a single toy, except the toy is your country. After the war, when France tried to reassert control, Sihanouk turned the tables. He became the face of Cambodian nationalism, calling for true independence. The irony? The very system that tried to use him as a figurehead created the stage for him to become a political player. That's the thing about symbolic power, it messes with people's heads. Give someone a fake crown long enough, and one day they'll realize they can use it to bash through the real throne room doors. Number 3. The secret city in the forest. You've heard of lost cities like Atlantis or El Dorado, but have you heard of the autonomous ghost capital of Cambodia? In the late colonial years, when French administrators and Cambodian elites discussed how to modernize the country, there were plans to move the administrative core away from Phnom Penh into what was supposed to be a neutral zone, a fresh start. The idea: build a modern hub in the forest, symbolizing Cambodian identity free from colonial interference. The reality: the project collapsed before it even began, partly because no one could agree on where it should go, and partly because no one wanted to pay for it. Still, rumors spread of secret blueprints, abandoned foundations, and hidden French archives describing the city as Cambodia's new heart. Some say remnants of this plan influenced later city expansions and infrastructure under Sihanouk's Sankum regime. Others claim it was a psychological experiment a way for France to maintain soft control by shaping how Cambodia imagined its independence. Symbolically, this phantom capital represented the paradox of the whole autonomy narrative, a dream that looked real on paper, but vanished when you try to visit. It's the historical equivalent of an email that starts with, "Congratulations, you've been selected," and ends with, "Terms and conditions apply." And here's the fun part. Decades later, modern Cambodian officials reportedly found French documents referencing Ville Autonome, Zone C, a code name no one ever explained. Was it a bureaucratic project? A colonial illusion? Or a test run for a puppet state that never materialized? Whatever it was, it showed one thing. Colonial autonomy wasn't about giving freedom. It was about designing the illusion of it. Number 2. The autonomy that wasn't. Okay, let's talk about the 1946 Autonomy Agreement, which sounds like a diplomatic milestone until you actually read it. On paper, Cambodia became an autonomous state within the French Union. In reality, it was the geopolitical equivalent of being told, "You're the boss now, as long as you do everything I say." France loved buzzwords like autonomy and self-government, but this deal was packed with fine print that made sure Cambodia stayed dependent. Military control? French. Foreign policy? French. Trade and finance? Yup, French again. It's like they handed Cambodia the keys to a car, but kept the engine, the tires, and the steering wheel. And yet, here's where the psychological twist kicks in. The agreement felt empowering to many Cambodians. After decades of colonial subjugation, even a symbolic victory looked like progress. It's a bit like when your boss gives you a promoted title, but doesn't actually raise your pay. Your brain celebrates first and asks questions later. The illusion worked for a while, but that half-baked autonomy planted a dangerous seed, the idea that Cambodia could and should govern itself completely. Students, monks, and nationalists started demanding real independence. Political clubs formed in secret. Pamphlets spread across cities, and by the early 1952s, the colonial illusion was cracking. You can't hand someone a fake crown and expect them not to start wondering what the real one feels like. Number 1. The Independence Mirage. By the time Cambodia finally declared full independence in 1953, the story had come full circle. King Sihanouk, the same intern monarch the French once underestimated, became the architect of liberation. But here's the strange part. Even independence didn't erase the weird psychological hangover from the autonomous years. Sihanouk's government inherited a country with borders drawn by colonial rulers, a bureaucracy trained by French administrators, and an economy tied to French trade. Cambodia was politically free, but structurally tangled like cutting a puppet's strings while it's still attached to the ceiling. The deeper mystery, though, is how that phantom autonomy era shaped Cambodia's national psyche. Historians call it the autonomy paradox. The nation was both deeply proud and deeply unsure of itself. People celebrated freedom, but still measured progress by colonial standards: schools, roads, bureaucracy, architecture. It's the same way ex-employees sometimes still follow their old boss's schedule even after quitting. And then there's the cultural side. The 1940s, 50s generation grew up hearing about independence before it truly existed. For them, the word freedom was a dream with multiple definitions: French, Japanese, royal, revolutionary. Every side promised liberty, but each meant something different. The result? A nation that, for decades, kept reinterpreting what autonomy should look like. From Sihanouk's royal socialism to the later political upheavals, everyone was still arguing over a concept that began as a colonial experiment. In a twisted way, the mystery of Cambodia's autonomy isn't about secret cities or hidden documents. It's about how a country was trained to imagine freedom before it could truly hold it. Basically, Cambodia's early autonomy was history's longest trial version, full access to hope, but subscription required for sovereignty. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.